Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Chef United Way. It is Championship Predictions Game Week 43. And I want to quickly pop Scott's comment on screen. Who's late? Now, I was late. I apologise. I have a son that goes in the bath at 7 o'clock. So it's always a bit touch and go. So Ollie's always in about half an hour before. And then I come in right at the last minute and swoop in and take all the glory. However, today, Ollie, would you like to tell everybody what happened?
Yeah, so you were late and, you finally arrived. I was being my normal smug self, being like, oh, look who's late again. And it turned out I'd not plugged in my microphone, so nobody could hear me speak. When I finally fixed it and plugged in my microphone, in the process of setting it all up, I closed down everything on my laptop. So I quickly lost the high ground.
Yeah, so everything that could have gone wrong's gone wrong, but we're here, and that's all that matters. Do you know, before StreamYard, when me and Hal used to do videos through OBS, it was an absolute nightmare. Sometimes we didn't have his face, sometimes we didn't have his voice. It was always Hal because he was I was all like kind of in the stream already because I set it all up, and then he has to come in as like a foreign guest, if you like. And he actually is a foreign guest these days. So anyway, let's just crack on into it because the constant these, aren't they? These videos are constant at the moment. We have like almost a 2-week break for the internationals, and then boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't know if you were doing some kind of like musical performance for us then, Nick. But yeah, they do seem to come thick and fast at the minute, every 2 or 3 days in it. But yes, let's crack on. I had a fairly, for the first time in a long time, I didn't just get annihilated. So, I'm actually okay with our scores from the weekend.
Yeah, you actually won. You actually won. However, you only won by 1 point, which means I am still in front of you by 1 point. So it's getting really, really tight, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still the bottle of all bottle. Not the biggest bottle job in Sheffield so far this season, but it is the biggest bottle job on the stream so far this season. I've got to book my ideas up and turn this around because I need to win this because it's going to hurt me deeply if I don't now.
Yeah, it feels like a bit of a free hit for me now because if I don't win it, I was miles behind, so it doesn't really matter. But if I do win it, it's embarrassing for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we're at that point where I'm thinking I might have to sack whoever's been in charge of my predictions. Going to have to get the sack, get a new man in, see if they can just get me over the line right at the end. That new manager bound. Got to try and think about what I can do. Might get my wife to do all the predictions from now on, just to see if she gets that look that I don't get.
I think that's a good idea. My sister used to let my nephew do her Super Sixes, and every week it were like 6-5, 5-6, 6-5, 5-6, and like almost they're probably better than what you would go for because it's just so impossible to do that. Anyway, let's start from scratch. Let's start for the first game. By the way, before we get into it, sorry, can you any ideas why I'm wearing an England shirt today? Because we went and beat Cardiff, and yeah.
Nice. So you went just for the bottom layer, wear England shirt because we beat Cardiff.
Yeah, England. Right, let's move into.
Nick, you've forgotten about our viewers' scores.
We're not bothered. They're on 413. They've ran away with it. No, I'm only joking. Go on.
No, they have indeed. They've smashed us, but it's always worth rewarding individual brilliance on a weekly basis, Nick. Don't know what that were.
That's fine. Good.
A couple
Keep
of people
going.
to shout out there. We've got Shazbat and Manish, both absolutely smashed it and got themselves 13 points. Shaz has been at the top of our leaderboard now, I think 3 in a row, and never managed to win it on her own. She's always had to tie with somebody else. So hopefully, maybe 1 week, she will be able to just take the crown all on her own rather than sharing it elsewhere. But Manish had a fantastic week. He's been with us from the very, very start. It's nice to see him back at the top of the board.
We love to see it. Let us know in the comments, Manish, what you think about last week because you clearly smashed it. Now, let's move into talking about Blackpool Rovers versus West Bromwich Albion, and that's a bit of a joke from the last one if you missed it. We've both gone for West Brom wins. West Brom, bit of a bounce back. So, yeah, we're both gone for him and Blackpool are rubbish.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, West Brom, I think it was literally the last stream I went, West Brom being in terrible form. They'll never make the playoffs. They then won one game. And because everybody else is so inconsistent, they're now something like 3 points outside the playoffs and have got game in hand. So all of a sudden, they look like they might make the playoffs, which I just did not see coming, albeit their game in hand, of course, is at Bramall Lane. So they're not getting points from that. Blackpool, meanwhile, they're 4 points from safety. Cardiff, the team just outside, have got a game in hand. It were a good win against Wigan, but I said it last week and I'll say it again. I still think they're down. It's just delaying the inevitable. And I think they'll lose this one just to really fire that home.
Oh, what is it now? What is it? It can't get any worse, can it? Oh, never mind.
I don't know what you're talking about, Nick.
That was the Mick McCarthy meme. It can't get any worse, can it? It can.
I've missed the meme, Nick. You've made me look.
Did you not see that?
Look a fool, or you've made me look a fool. One way or the other. Yeah.
No, Mick McCarthy, in an interview, they asked him when he was Blackpool manager, it can't get any worse, can it? And he went, it can. And he's no longer the Blackpool manager. So anyway, it
so
was
can't
funny.
Get worse for Blackpool then?
No. Well, yes, it can. Anyway, you're only a few minutes late because Ollie was massively late. Let's all blame Ollie and let's move on to talking about Rotherham United versus Burnley Football Club. Now, Ollie, we've both gone for Burnley wins. I think this win would have been higher if it wasn't for Burnley choking at Reading.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that Reading successfully defended their points record. Obviously,
wait, so you've seen that? You've seen that, but you haven't seen the Mick McCarthy video that went round and round and round and round? Come on, man.
What can I say, mate?
It's not good enough.
You know, I focus on results. I focus on the table. I've got no time for this fun and games you've got with Mick McCarthy, man. Grow up.
Go on then.
But yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, they now can't break the points record, but I think they'll want to bounce back. And if we're being honest, Rotherham very, very meekly surrendered to Luton. It felt like on Saturday, they just didn't really turn up. They didn't put in anything like performance.
Did they want Luton to catch us? Is that what it is? Have we got some beef with Rotherham for some reason?
Not from any Rotherham fan I've spoken to. They were all, please beat Cardiff and we'll beat Luton. And then we beat Cardiff and they let us down.
I saw the highlights and yeah, fair enough. It's not the full game, but it did not look like Rotherham fancied it.
No, they just didn't turn up properly. Gave away an absolute comedy penalty, which is a shocker. Just don't know what professional football is doing in that scenario. But then, of course, save the penalty only to let them knock in the rebound anyway. It was just a poor performance from them. I think they probably will still be safe. No real issues for relegation. But I don't think it gives me any confidence they'll do anything at all other than get battered in this game.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Let's move on to talking about Sheffield United because we have got Bristol City. And we've both gone for a Blades win. This is the one I'm worried about the most. The reason for that is because Bristol City nearly scuppered our last promotion run because they beat us 3-2 at Bramall Lane, and I don't want history to repeat itself.
Yeah, Andy Vyman. I still have nightmares about Andy Vyman. If you remember, right back, everybody who has been watching, who has been with us from the start, knows about my absolute Vietnam syndrome of just shaking and crying every time I think about Andy Vyman. He's a fantastic player, but as far as I'm aware, I don't know why, but is he injured? I can't think of why he's not playing, but I've not heard anything about him for weeks. So I assume he's not at Bristol City anymore or that he's injured. But yeah, he certainly taught us a lesson last time we played him at Bramall Lane. But I think United are a bit of a different beast at the minute. You know, we lost to Burnley, which fair enough, everybody probably does. But we bounced back really well. I didn't think it was a great performance against Cardiff, but I think we just do enough to get 3 points. And that's something we've been doing for months now. And I think we'll keep that going, just do enough to get 3 points. And hopefully that gets us within touching distance of the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what you're on about Andy Vyman because he's been playing a lot. He's not been scoring a lot, but he has been playing a lot. The last time he scored was the 11th of March. And before that, I don't know how many goals he's scored this season, but it's not a lot. He scored 5 goals in 39 games for Bristol City this season. What has happened to Andy Weimann? What a player he was. And probably still is. And he'd probably turn up at Bramall Lane and score a hat-trick, 100%.
Yep, entirely my fault. Sorry, team. Andy Weimann hat-trick, incoming. Can I change my prediction?
Yeah, do it now. I'm happy we changed your prediction. Definitely. Right, let's move on to talking about Stoke City versus Wigan Athletic. And we've both gone for comfortable Stoke City wins, which means Wigan will turn up and win about 3 or 4-0, surely. But yeah, Stoke are good and Wigan are bad.
Yeah, I think that comes down to the crux of it is Wigan are bad. Wigan are pretty much relegated now and are just waiting for that to be confirmed. I know they've done an announcement today about some players who have started to say that they'll leave in the summer. I think Joe Bennett was one. Not seen all of them. But yeah, that's the sign of a team who are already preparing for next year and who are already accepting relegation. I think going away has not been good for Wigan since about the 5th game of the season when they started really well. But no, they're going to get a bit of a beat in here. And I think I'm going to expect that for most of the games that they've got left.
Yeah. Does Daniel Yallop get 0 points every week, do we think?
He's actually quite good normally. I think he just goes against us and generally does quite well.
Maybe that's our fault then. Maybe it's us that's rubbish. Fair enough. Everybody's going for a Stoke win other than Daniel Yallop. And I'm going for it. I'm saying that you're off your head, mate. You're off your head. Anyway, let's go on to the next one. Let's talk about Sunderland versus Huddersfield. And yeah, we've both gone for a pretty standard Sunderland win, I reckon, here.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, looking at the predictions so far, I think what's happened is I've submitted my predictions to you and said, this is what I think is going to happen. And you've gone, well, if I just go for the same results as all, he can't catch me up and I'll maintain that 1-point lead. That's what I'm seeing.
I'm just looking through them now. And no, I did think this at the time. I did, because pretty much when I saw your score, pretty much the first 7 or 8, I were like, I'm going to go for that score. And they were just like, I don't want to go crazy and go for a score that I don't think is going to happen. So, yeah, most of you get first dibs every single game week. So don't you come at me, mate.
Yeah, you're not wrong, to be fair. And I think this is an interesting one. You know, Huddersfield had a really good run. They got 3 wins in a row, got themselves out of danger. But since throwing away though that 2-goal lead against Blackburn, I think it was Easter Monday, then losing to Swansea at the weekend, they are probably thinking they still need a few more points to be definitely safe. But I think the Stadium of Light's a horrible place to go. These are another team who, despite, you know, I think they're unbeaten in 5, but I think they've drawn 4. So it's not like Sunderland are exactly coming up on a fantastic run. And yet they're still only 2 outside the playoffs. They're another team that are just chasing it down, keeping themselves in the hunt. And I think if they win this, they'll really fancy their chances because they could very well end the midweek sort of set of fixtures in the playoffs.
Fair enough. There you go.
There you have it.
Kieran Hooper has gone for telling us exactly what's going to happen. I am a little bit disappointed that you haven't told us all the scorers as well and what the attendance is going to be. But I'll be waiting. I'll be having a look and I'll put it straight on screen. Charlie thinks it's going to be a Warnock masterclass. Paul agrees, 3-0. Another one, Huddersfield 2-0 win. We kind of went from all Sunderlands to like all Huddersfield fans. So, yeah, anyway, let's move on to talking about your favourite team, Millwall FC, 2-1. You've gone for 2-0. Again, I was going to go for a 2-0 Millwall win. And you scuppered that, so 2-1 it is.
Yeah, I mean, they won 2-0, obviously a really good win against Preston. Preston were in great form before they went there. Millwall maybe having a little bit of a slide, but they seem to have turned it around. I do think Millwall will make the playoffs, and I think they need to win home games like this just to make certain of that. It feels like a fairly comfortable one. Birmingham are safe. They've reached 50 points. They've had some pretty good news, I think, regarding their takeover and potentially something happening there. But for me, they're just the quintessential on the beach team. And so I think they'll possibly lose this one.
Yeah, by 2-0, you've just told us. And Daniel agrees with you. So he's obviously not off his head too much. He's obviously not drank as much as what we thought. Next up, we've got Blackburn Rovers versus Coventry City. again, I thought this was going to be a 2-2 draw. Looks at my phone on my WhatsApp from Ollie, 2-2. Fantastic. And do you know, at certain points when I was looking at it and thinking, I keep thinking what you're saying, but I've read yours first. So I looked away and I'm like, right, the next one, and it was this one. I'm going to say 2-2. And I looked and it said 2-2. So I've gone for a 2-1 Coventry City win just from the last game, really, because they absolutely mullered QPR. And that also stood you in good stead as well, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a perfect banker. Always go against QPR, Nick. That's the rule for the end of this season.
Except for the week before.
Yeah, that's when it failed. But we focus on the good news.
Yep.
This is a difficult one. These are two teams who are in that clutch chasing the playoffs. And I'm repeating myself time and time again. They're two who weren't in great form. They do pick up really good wins. Blackburn got one against Norwich a couple of games back. Coventry obviously got one against QPR, but neither of them have really been able to put a run together and really just stake a claim and say, this is my playoff spot and I'm not letting go. Blackburn have managed to be there pretty much all season without ever really impressing. I think everyone's always kind of said, well, they'll drop away. And I still think they possibly will, to be honest. Just think they've just hit bad form at the wrong time. But at home, they still do pick up some decent wins, still put in some good performances. They always score goals. So, yeah, entertaining. Probably the one that I would watch on Red Button if I was a neutral. 2-2.
It's one of these games that you're looking at and you think there's loads of goals in this game, and then it'll probably end up being 0-0. It's just that one of those games. It really is for me. I do think that Blackburn are very, very exciting when they are on form. But like you say, it's just too few and far between for them, to be fair. Next up, we've got QPR versus Norwich City. I'm thinking again that we're not going to get a Battle of the Cities. And I'm right. No Battle of the Cities. Devastated. It's just one of them things, isn't it? Hopefully next week. We'll probably get 3 next week. Anyway, we've both gone for a similar scoreline. Again, I probably would have gone for a 2-0. So, yeah, go on, Ollie.
Yeah, there's not much to say about it, to be honest. I think QPR are atrocious. I think the worst team in league. I think they've beaten worst team in league for about 3 months now, to be honest. They just don't ever look like getting any points. I think, hopefully, like, no disrespect to the club, quite like QPR as a club, but hopefully they get relegated because they've got Gareth Ainsworth as the manager. I completely want him to fail. It's been an atrocious appointment. He's proved that he's not really good enough for a level above Wickham. I think they'll be seeing League One next year.
Yeah, it could be another one of those where he goes back to Wickham after failing here so much. There's quite a few managers that have done that. Nathan Jones, for instance. There's loads of managers that's done that in the past, and they'll probably welcome him back with open arms because he's done very well for him. And obviously it just shows that he shouldn't have done it, but you've got to try. You got to try, haven't you? If you get a bigger club, there's that thing about loyalty, but at the same time, you just got to go. And he was there a long time at Wickham and did some good things, but it's quite funny that he's not doing very well. Anyway, let's move on to talking about Swansea City versus Preston North End. And after somebody giving me grief in the comments about Preston North End, they didn't win. They actually lost, which I laughed at a little bit. I've got nothing against Preston, but it was just a little bit funny.
Yeah, I know. I saw that you were getting called out in the comments, and I've already written my defense for why I'm still not backing Preston. And it's actually not to do with Preston, because they are good. They've been on a fantastic run. They've been one of the form teams in the league. I think it's over the last sort of 10, 11 games now as well. So it's not a short thing. They've been really good for a while. But Swansea themselves have hit some fantastic form, you know. I think they've currently got the best 5-game form in the league with 4 wins and a draw. They look ready to take on anybody. They're really trying to set themselves up for next year. So 2-2, and Jack Shaw's got it spot on.
Yes. Hopefully. Well, for you. Hopefully Kieran's got it spot on for me. I am gonna laugh. I'm gonna bring up this one on screen because that really, really did make me laugh. Because he's done some crazy things, Gareth Ainsworth, to try and get him to win games of football. Maybe should start getting them on the training page and actually teaching them a different way of playing. Maybe trying a few different things rather than slapping your knees and shouting out New Zealand words or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what the hacker is.
No, even I saw that viral meme, Nick.
Well done. You've seen one. You've seen
Yay.
one. You love to see it. Oh, anyway, let's move on. Watford, they won a game of football.
They did.
Chris Wilder won a game of football. You love to see it. And I've gone for another Watford 2-1 win. Well, another Watford win, 2-1 the score. You've gone for Cardiff to win, and I don't know what you're drinking or what you're inhaling right now, Ollie, because Cardiff City, I thought, were dreadful against us. We scored 4 goals, which at least 3 of them were Cardiff City defensive mistakes.
They were, yeah, and defensively, it's a real concern. I think that lad McGuinness had an absolute honker. He was terrible. Keeper as well.
Do you know where we're on loan as well?
From your tone, I'm assuming Wednesday.
He was on loan at Wednesday, and the Wednesday fans said, "Oh, he's an absolute fantastic defender. He'll be best defender in Championship. He's going back to Cardiff to go and smash it." Smashed it, he did. Smashed his Championship career.
Yeah, he was absolutely atrocious. Yeah, he was shocking. But, you know, it's League One standard, isn't it?
Nice.
But no, Cardiff, I actually thought they were all right against United. I think they defensively were a mess. Thought they were a real shambles. But I thought first off in particular, they stepped onto us, put us under pressure, forced us to look rubbish a little bit. So I thought if they can do what they did in that first 45, maybe they can be effective, maybe against a team like Watford as well. You'll get the fans to turn on them. You'll just start to get a little bit of momentum that maybe Watford don't have. I think where they went wrong, they changed formation second half and it just didn't work for them. They're better with 3 at the back. So I think if they stay true to their guns, if Lamucci doesn't change too many things around, they could get a really positive result here because it's Watford, isn't it?
Watford in it. And do you know what? I agree with what Matt said, because at certain points of that game against Cardiff, we were just giving them the ball loads and loads. We were playing really well whilst also playing really rubbish, which is some going for a team that are playing professional football. Anyway, let's move on to the penultimate one, which is Middlesbrough versus Hull City. And another guy gave me some absolute...
He did, yeah.
Gave me some sugar in the comments. And he said that Hull City don't lose games of football. And I jumped back with, you don't win games of football. And like, they'd not won before the last game. They'd not won for like 5 or 6 games. So they're not a team that you're going to think, oh, they're definitely going to win this week, because we don't watch them week in, week out. So we don't know how well they're playing. All we're seeing is results and highlights and things like that. But again, didn't lose away at Blackburn. Fair play to them.
Good result.
I think they'll lose this one, and I think they'll lose it by a lot. And that's nothing against Hull City. I just think that Middlesbrough are that good, and the fact that they kind of had that little bit of a dry spell or poor spell, I don't know where it came from, because the last game against Norwich, they absolutely mullered them. Wait a second, was the last game Norwich, or was the game before that Norwich?
No, last game was Norwich, Friday night.
It's because they played Friday, weren't it? Oh God, so many games coming thick and fast. But yeah, they obliterated Norwich in the rain, and I think they're going to do this to Hull City.
Yeah, me too. And I think, James makes a really good point in the comments where he said there that they conceded 3 against Sunderland. So I think that was their last away game, shipped 3 goals. I think they're going to ship some more here. Borough are a really, really good team. Like you say, they showed how good they were. They scored 5 against Norwich on Friday night. And when everything clicks with Archer and Akpom, they are going to just blow away anybody because they're so good going forwards. I think you're right. Hull aren't pushovers. They've had a decent run. I've been talking to Ant Norgraves from the Hull and Back podcast quite a bit. I know he's really positive. He feels as though they're in a really good place for a good run next season and potentially looking at the playoffs with a little bit of development over the summer. And I agree. I think they've got a good manager in there. I think they've got a decent squad, but I wouldn't back anybody in the league going to Borough right now. I think just because they're not going to finish second because they've just dropped off a bit, I don't think that really affects what they do between now and the end of the season. They're going to want to go into the playoffs with positive momentum, and they're going to really try and score a lot of goals, I think, because Akpom's got some records to break.
Yeah, and it's so funny how Borough scores so many goals and Luton don't, but just don't concede any goals. So that is going to be a crazy playoff final if what we expect to happen happens. Because Middlesbrough, what are you looking at me like for?
I didn't like it, Nick. There were too much confidence in that statement of Middlesbrough and Luton in the playoffs. It made me
5
uncomfortable.
points, one game in hand. Come
You made
on,
me
there's
uncomfortable.
only
You made me uncomfortable, Nick. That's all I'm saying.
what is it, 5 games left?
For us, yeah, they've got 4.
Yeah, exactly. They've got 4. They can only get 12 points. Ollie, stop being a little wuss, mate. Stop being a wuss.
No, there's no commitment from me. I will continue to sit on the fence and say, "Oh no,
Well, you're not
everything
allowed to
was
celebrate when we get promoted. Then, all right?
no deal."
That's the rules. All right, everybody knows it. Let's move on. Let's talk about Reading against Luton because, of course, Luton are going to win 1-0.
Yeah, probably. I can see it. I think for me, this is a really interesting one, though. And we talked about it a lot last week in the stream where hope against expectation. And I put forward what I saw as being the defense of hope. And Luton's record in terms of away games, how they'd drawn a few, how Rotherham had got good results. And it meant nothing at all because Luton just battered them fairly comfortably and took home a really easy 3 points. And the same thing could well happen again. But Reading are fighting for their lives. They've just got a draw against Burnley, which I don't think anybody would have predicted at all. So there's a chance they could get another really impressive point, back up that one against Burnley, and try to keep themselves in that conversation to keep them in the league. Let's hope that the motivation is what really does it here and gets Reading a positive result.
Absolutely, definitely. And Ollie might actually start thinking that we might get promoted.
I think we might. I'm just not willing to say we will.
Oh, come on, man. Come on. If what we expect happens, that's what I said. And that's what we expect. Most people expect it right now. Before you go, ladies and gents, if you would like to like the stream, that'd be fantastic. We want to get as many likes as possible, 100 likes on this one, because we get between 50 and 70, I think. So 100 would be absolutely fantastic. Also, leave all your predictions in the comments before Ollie says it. I'm going to say, what are you going to go for banker-wise?
Go on, Nick. There's a rule. I'm keeping to the rule. Norwich are my banker. They're playing QPR.
There we go. It's going to happen again, isn't it? It's going to happen again. I am... Go on, I'll not be boring like you were last week. I'll not be boring. I think Watford are going to win this game of football. So I'm going to go for a Watford 2-1 win. I was going to go for Borough, but that's boring. And Hull City are very good defensively, apparently.
It's a risky game. Don't go against Hull.
No, except
Never
for
go against
we
Hull.
have. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Oh, Daniel's jumped in there. What are your bankers? Yeah, fair enough. I nearly forgot. But if everyone else wants to leave theirs in the comments too and in the live chat, that would be fantastic. We will see you. I don't know when it is, but it feels like it'll be in a couple of days' time, probably.
Yeah, Thursday, innit? I think.
Thursday, innit?
Thursday, innit?
Yeah, probably. Right, see you in a bit, guys. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you later.